everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino airwalk. This is my Dear Ivy free advice show. This is a play off of Dear Abby. For those of you that are older, Dear Abby was this famous columnist who would take questions about anything. Someone was fighting with their neighbor. Someone didn't know how to handle their in-laws. Someone was having a financial, secret or difficulty. People would write into her, and Dear Abby, I used to read it as a kid. And I thought, that's amazing. I want to do that. She would just give her advice on these different things. And I started this show, I want to say a few months back, and it's been a pretty big hit. So I'm taking your questions on any topic under the sun, and I will give you my perspective. And of course, as always, the spiritual perspective of things. So go ahead and just drop your questions now. And my beautiful producer, Diana, who is, again, producing for the first time tonight ever. So we may see a little bit of glitching or hesitancy here. We're all going to be patient and keep supporting her. She's doing awesome so far. So go ahead and drop whatever your question is. Just remember, these are not free psychic mediumship reads. This isn't like a free mediumship show. Okay, it's going to be regular advice. And I think we're going to go ahead and start with the first one. What do we have coming up here? Inspired Soul. So Inspired Soul wants to know, why isn't things not prospering in my life like it should? I have multiple streams, but no money. Okay, so why aren't things prospering as they should? I have multiple streams of income, but no money. The first thing I'm feeling, with you is that you may get into one of these patterns that a lot of people get into, where it's like a jack of all trades, but a master of none. You may have too many things going on. You may not really be fully investing in the way that you think you are. So you're investing into many different forms of income or resources, but you're not pouring your heart and soul into your life contract. And so the universe doesn't read that as anything. It's like null and void. It's sort of like, showing up in your best outfit, ready to bring your A game to work, and you get up to the door and the offices are all closed. No one's there. The business is gone. It's shut down. It doesn't mean anything. There is a need, I think, for everyone to, at different stages in your life, plug, understand your life contract. So whether you need a life contract reading, you need to talk to a good astrologer, Vedic or Western, about your birth chart and your North Node, meaning what you're supposed to be working toward in this life and for future lives. Or you talk to a good numerologist and you get a numerology chart. I think that whenever, we are approaching a new pivotal point, we can end up in the situation where you are. And I always say, my life contract readings, we have about 5 to 6 different pivotal points over the course of our entire lives. These are your major level up opportunities. And as you approach a new one, you could find that everything you previously built is not bringing anything in, or it needs to go. You go through 2 years of detox before you enter into a new pivotal point. It's like a sacrifice. It's like saying every time the bus stops, somebody's got to get off. In order for a new door to open, another door has to close. So you could be exiting out of the old way. And what a lot of people do when that's happening is they start sort of treading water. They start grabbing onto anything, and then you've got a million different balls that you're juggling, but you were never there at the show to be a juggler at all. You're supposed to be the star singing, your song on the stage for the audience. And it's like, well, what is that? Maybe it's a new song. Maybe it's something, you don't feel ready for. Typically, when you're entering into a pivotal point, we don't feel ready. And the detox years can rattle us. So our self-esteem is down. We don't like having to leave behind situations and relationships and things that we had previously been investing in. And that's what the 2 years of detox look like. So you're kind of rattled going into this new beginning, right? And you have to ask yourself how in alignment you really are right now with your life contract, because no one's life contracts, and I've done a million of these, no one's life contracts looks like spread out between 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different things, right? Just to make ends meet, and it's not working. That isn't it. So we're off. You're off balance in that area. Okay. Should be one, maybe two things. You know, sometimes three if it's like investments or passive income or a little bit of land or whatever. You know what I mean? That's fine, but that's not what we're talking about here. Okay. All right. Thank you, Inspired Soul. We are going to move on to another one. Okay. This is a YouTube question. Why does the universe test us constantly? I love this. Someone sent this in earlier and I was like, I'm using this for the show tonight. So why does the universe test us constantly? What we see with lessons in life are that we learn them and we can mentally grasp them at some point. We may even be really good at teaching them or talking about them, preaching on them. We may be great at giving other people that advice that we understand mentally. However, when the next opportunity for us to trip up comes in and crosses our path, we fail. We don't actually know how to walk these things out. We can understand logically a lesson or even preach to other people about how things should best be done. But when it's our time to prove that we fully know it, embrace it, and are going to walk it out in our lives, we fail. And what happens when you are on the fence with that is that you will keep getting tested in that area. Okay, so you came to Earth and you said, essentially, I want to learn X, Y, and Z, and I want to grow in these areas, and I want to deal with this karma, and I want to level up. Okay, that's the only reason to come to Earth. No one would come here on purpose for any other reason. It's not a fun place to be. Now, it's the universe's job to make sure that you then accomplish those things. So the universe hits you with same thing over and over and over again. And if it keeps coming up, it's not necessarily because you're failing. It's because maybe you haven't fully completed it, you know, in the walking it out. So ask, where do I think I understand something, but I'm getting tested in this area. And so when it approaches me, I backpedal or I buckle. I'm a deer in the headlights. I procrastinate. I don't do what I know I should do. Fix that and it should stop. Now, that doesn't mean it won't come up in like a decade. You know, I do find that there are patterns. Esmeralda Marie Rivera, everybody. Say hi, Ezzy. Not today. I do see patterns where maybe a decade later it'll come up again, you know, or some people, I worked with a client today who had a lifelong lesson. It started at 4 and it didn't end until she kicked the bucket. And I was like, oy, you know, this is a person who's going to have literally into her 70s and 80s, the same thing showing up, you know, and she's just going to have to prove over and over and over again, you know, that when it shows up, she's going to walk it out. So it will, once you go beyond just grasping it mentally, but you're actually walking it out, it will become less so or non-existent. Okay. That's what it is. That's why it happens. All right. We're going to move on to another question. Inspired Soul said, thank you. You are very welcome. Yeah, and this is for everyone. This is a free show. Donations are appreciated, but don't feel like you have to, of course. And please, everyone, give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment of any kind. It helps me on the algorithm, and please do subscribe. Okay, next question is from Facebook, Morgan Blight. How do I protect my energy in a draining situation? I think the most important thing is to identify that there are certain tools that are going to work for you that are better than others. So it's a trial and error in the beginning. Treat it like a science project. When you go to be around this toxic person or this draining situation, make sure that before you leave the house to go in, not in the car, not right as you get there, before you even leave, right? You want to work on some blocking techniques. Before you could block, you should cleanse yourself out. So you're visualizing you're cleansing out anything in your body you don't want, okay? And then you can get rooted and grounded. Maybe you pretend you're a tree. You have roots growing out of the bottom of your feet, okay? Then you want to block. So say you're putting layers of brick around you, or layers of colors, or some people do it like a bubble or an eggshell. You're gonna, if it's really bothering you, you're gonna want to use something stronger than the bubble, okay? But you find a technique that works for you. You visualize that you're putting, let's use the brick wall, around you from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And then you go to the draining person and situation, and you pay attention to when you feel like it wore off. So say you're there for an hour and you're like, that's it. I'm starting to get irritable. I feel agitated, or I feel exhausted. I'm feeling drained or dizzy. I feel like I must lay down. That's it. It wore off. It's not working anymore. You need to renew it next time before that happens. Maybe you stay 30 minutes and you go to the bathroom and you renew it. Okay. But you need to start figuring out how much you need for your blocking tools. And then you need to figure out how often they need to be renewed. Goodbye, ma'am. And I would also say that sometimes you're still going to feel the effects, not necessarily in those moments, but long-term. Like you're kind of haunted by the fact that you need to stop going to these places or dealing with these people. You know, your karma is going down the toilet. It's like all of your prosperity is drying up in other areas of your life. Sometimes you need to look at the bigger picture and say, am I involved with people or situations I have no business being involved in? There's no blocking exercise in the world that's going to fix that. You setting a boundary and or you walking away is what fixes that. Okay. All right, thank you so much for your question. We are going to move on to another one. This is from Aluda Kanchan. I had a double quartz crystal, made it through a house fire. I tried to cleanse it, dropped it in the sink, and it broke into a bunch of pieces. The crystal is still covered in soot. Should I bury it? I mean, I don't take things with crystals too seriously because they have a tendency to, you know, be just like everything else in the universe. They show up when you need them and they disappear when you don't, you know? So that was sort of the whole storyline there with that probably. Do you need to bury it? I mean, you could. It's not, I don't think the crystal is going to feel any sort of way about how you handle it from here. The most important thing is that it showed up as a tool for you to utilize while you needed it. And now that that relationship, right, that energy has shifted, it's gone. It's off, you know, it's on its way to someone else. I would say that, you know, burying it is a nice way to sort of honor what it gave. But you could also just kind of cleanse it and keep it in a windowsill or keep it near your plants, or, you know, maybe even at some point give it out to somebody else or keep using, you know, the pieces, but it's not the same as what it was. Okay. I don't know. I feel something weird about burying crystals, unless you have a paranormal problem. When I do paranormal consultations, I am constantly saying, put the quartz in the four corners under the earth and renew it, you know, every 6 months or a year or whatever it is. But I feel weird about them going in the earth. It's like they're here to do more than that. It's almost like it was dug up for a reason, you know, and what is the rest of its journey? Let it tell you. Ask the crystal where it wants to go. You know, it gave to you, give back to it. How can you give back? Pay it forward, right? And we should really be doing that with our pets and our friends and everybody, you know, everybody. Ask it. And if you get no answer, it doesn't matter. You know, it's okay with whatever you want to do. Hello, Scott from Nebraska. Good to see you. Thank you, Luda, for that question. Do we have any other questions coming in? All right, so this is from Facebook. This is a Jordan C9. How do I set healthy boundaries in a toxic relationship? If it is a toxic relationship, instead of focusing too much on the boundaries, you need to focus on how you can exit that relationship. Now, I understand that there can be extenuating circumstances and it isn't always that easy to do immediately, but that is what we need to be working toward, okay? So we don't want to spend too much time on relationships that we already have the answer to. We already know it's bad news. in trying to fix it, because it's sort of like slapping the universe in the face. Okay. The universe has said to you, you know, it's time for you to leave this relationship. You see that it isn't working. You have all the proof and evidence and patterns and everything that you need. I'm assisting you in that. And you're saying, well, I'm just going to stay and keep toying around with it. All right. So that's when the universe will eventually be like, you know what? I'm removing my hands of protection. And that's when I refer to negative karmic kickback is coming in, right? Is starting to affect all areas of your life. It seeps in like an infection into all things, right? Health, wealth, other relationships. Everything goes wrong. Your prosperity can't move forward, or it's like one step forward, two steps back. So you need to do a serious analysis here on how you have plans to get out of it. And if you don't, start there. Forget about the boundary setting stuff. But, you know, when you are stuck in a situation where you have to continuously deal with someone who is toxic, and you know you're going to be there for a while, I think the best thing to do is to mirror back to them what they're sending to you. So sort of like the other person's question that I answered, you cleanse yourself out before you know you're going to have to be around them. Okay. You get yourself rooted and grounded. You could do the roots growing out of the bottom of your feet, pretend that you're a tree. Okay. Get rooted and grounded, and then you block. Now, when you're dealing with someone toxic, I like to block, put around me mirrors, because what I'm doing is I'm sending back to them whatever weirdo energy they're sending at me, and it will just destroy them. It will make them crazy. They may blame you and think that you're, you know, the one who's attacking them, when in actuality, it's just their energy reflecting back onto them. Okay. But you need to be strong enough not to care about that. That's one approach. So you can mirror until they literally start staying away from you. They will eventually be like, oh, that's horrid energy. And you're like, that's funny. Yeah, it really is. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, TikTok. Exactly. Precisely. Goodbye. And that's what they'll do. They'll stay away as often as possible. It can also, you know, affect things so that they're staying away or really improving their behavior for like anywhere from 3 days to 3 weeks, and then they revert back. Okay. So you could renew with new tricks such as binding. You could do a binding on this person so that you sit in the sort of meditational state and you call them forward in your mind's eye while you're in this meditational state. And you say, my higher mind wants to talk to your higher mind. You can say, my inner child wants to play with your inner child. And then while you're there like that, higher mind to higher mind, right? Higher vibration to higher vibration, you have a conversation with them and you say, you know, this really isn't working for me. I feel that you are insulting, and I feel that you're crossing boundaries, and I feel that you're dragging down my energy deliberately or causing problems. And these are the things that you need to improve upon. Do you understand? That's what you need to be doing. And then you bind them. You can bind their mouth. You can visualize you're binding their hands, whatever weapons it is that they're using, their words, their tongue, tie up their tongue, whatever it is that they're using against you, weapon against you, bind it. Use a combination of these things, trip them up. Always have them guessing. Okay. Never let anyone fall into a routine with you, especially if you've got to be there a while. And definitely upon exiting. Okay. Upon exiting, switch that thing up every couple days and have them just so confused they don't even know how to approach you at all, energetically or otherwise, and get out. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jordan, for that question. And we have another one coming in. Okay. We've got another one from TikTok, Alchemy SS or Elcom1 SS. Will I ever move out of Austin? Well, that would be like a psychic mediumship question. And I'm not doing those today, but I can tell you that the way you worded it is a good sign that you may not. Okay. So I'll answer it this way. We never ask whether or not something huge is going to happen in our life that requires a tremendous amount of effort on behalf of the human being. If your free will is the prime factor in you moving out of Austin, and it is, because a move is a huge deal. Thank you for the hearts on TikTok and the gifts. I appreciate you guys. When we talk to therapists and we look at scientific research on the biggest stressors in a human being's life, it's things like moving, right? And then it's like job change, and then it's like divorce. I mean, these are the big ones. And you're asking it passively. You're asking it as though it's something that may happen to you one day, or it may not happen to you one day. Nothing like this will ever happen to you. Okay. This is a situation where if you want to move out of Austin, you are going to have to let the universe know. You're not wishy-washy about it. You're not a pacifist about it. You're not asking or hoping or praying for it. You are saying, I claim it. I'm going to make it happen. And you tell the universe, this is how I'm going to take action toward it. And then you start taking action toward it, and the universe will see you through the rest of the way and assist. So I can tell you right now, just the fact that you asked it like that, you don't know that. And even if you know it, you're not walking it out. So start there, okay? Moves are a big deal. Not a place to be, whatever happens, they're compliant, or hopeful. We got to push hard. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to another one. Thank you, Alchemy11 or 1SS for that. Okay. Okay. Hey, Soul on TikTok. Thank you so much for the hearts and the gifts. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for being here. All right. On TikTok, we have Taylor25 Ann. Is the trauma from my past still affecting my current decisions? Well, I think it always affects our decisions, and we don't want it not to. Any type of trauma that you've gone through in the past, you may want to start to see as a significant benefit to who you've become. It's helped you with your power. It's helped you with your wisdom, right? It's educated you on what to do and what not to do. So it's not like your past is something we want to just leave behind and evolve beyond. We take it with us. And I think it's that desire to get past it, or to one day reach that finish line feeling, like I've healed. It's over. I've healed. I've done the work. Healing is not linear. It's cyclical. And I guarantee, even when you think you're done, you're not done. And this will go on until your last days and beyond, even into your future lives, most likely. So it's not that you have more and more and more, healing work that you should be focusing on with this question. It's more like you need to understand how to embrace your past trauma and use it as a tool to make good decisions in your current life. And if you feel that the situations you're in that you're questioning are dysregulating your nervous system, if you feel that they've got your back up, you feel like a cat, you feel intuitively like something's wrong, if you feel that you're becoming very paranoid or suspicious about someone or something you're involved in, and it's showing up in your dreams, and you're seeing weird patterns of animals and numbers and like messages are trying to come through, never negate your own intuition. That may be your trauma from the past letting you know right away, this is a bad person. This is a wrong situation for you. Get out. Okay. Don't even get into this. Get out while you're ahead. And a lot of people are relying on you to negate that. A lot of people will target someone who has past trauma specifically for this reason. They know they can get it past you on that or convince you otherwise. So you want to look with a magnifying glass, be analytical, be critical, use your discernment, use your judgment. Everyone and anything that approaches you should have to prove itself to you before you decide whether or not it's safe for a while. And we never decide anything is safe indefinitely. Okay. And you use your tools of knowledge from the past, whether that be dysregulated nervous system, That be your gut intuition kicking in. That be the nightmares happening. That be you having a sort of questioning, cyclical patterned mind about something, almost OCD-like tendencies about something or someone. You use that as a tool to understand there's something more there you need to understand. Okay, don't be black and white. Don't put it in one category or the other. Just say, it's in the gray, and I need to know more. I need more info. I need more info. Okay, and ask those questions until you're satisfied. All right, I would say also, and this is just for everyone, and we can move on to the next question here, but this is kind of for everybody. You know when your past trauma is really significantly affecting a decision, typically because you have no peace with that decision and you can't seem to make up your mind and you're, stuck in a loop. You really do feel bad about it. Okay. And, you can always take it to a therapist and say, I think I need to work through this a little bit more. All right, we have another question coming up here. This is from YouTube. This is Elisum7. How do I heal when closure is not an option? So when you can't get closure with someone or a situation, for whatever reasons, the best thing for you to do is to do it on another dimension, because that is what's going to be happening regardless. You may not remember all of your dreams, but we work through karma with people and in situations for healing purposes on other dimensions when we're asleep. So this is sort of like if you have someone you no longer speak to and you desperately want closure with that person, for example, you may have a significant amount of dreams where they are there and you guys are working on something together, or you're bringing some peace and harmony to the relationship. Maybe it's not perfect, but you are in the same vicinity. You are working on some things, clearly. That's just one example of how it goes, because these are not two people who as human beings are able to work together on the earth plane right now. And so we do it in other dimensions. We do it in other lives even. And it's also really important for you to put the focus and attention back on yourself. Closure is overrated. Closure, I like to think of closure as being, I don't even really ever think of closure. I can't remember the last time I ever felt like I needed closure, because I really see closure as happening on its own in the moment I realize something is over. That's it. I don't care if it's someone I'm madly in love with and I thought we'd be together forever maybe, or I'd hoped. I don't care. The minute it clicks and I'm like, done, it's over. I don't need closure. I don't need anything. I need it to be gone so I can start healing and moving forward, and you could do that with anything. You just ultimately understand in a moment where something has shifted, probably just your perception, but it has shifted and something has ended. You no longer have benefit there, right? You can't learn anything more from this in the way that it is right now, right? This relationship has become now toxic, whatever it is. And that is the closure. So focus more on that moment when you knew, okay, there were probably a series of those leading up to the grand finale, and say, that was my closure. Embrace it more. What else is there? Okay. Thank you so much, TikTok. What else is there for you to maybe process that you haven't fully processed? The lessons, the karma, the growth is always there for us. And that does not rely, that is not dependent upon another person or a situation. It is within us. Okay. So it's a determination on your part to create that closure. You can also do a ceremony. You could do a releasing ceremony. Let's see. We have another one coming in. Thank you, everyone, especially TikTok. You guys are always so supportive. I appreciate. Thanks for the likes, the shares, the hearts, and if everyone could please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Drop your questions. If you're tuning in late, this is my Dear Ivy show, a free advice show. And you can drop your question wherever you are. And my beautiful producer, who is training tonight for the first time, Diana, will take your question and move it over here to the screen. If you are having trouble tuning in at any point, you can switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. All right, what's the next one? It's already up here. I'm just talking. Instagram, maybe Maggie Moles. I think that's Instagram. Maggie Moles says, how do I build a healthy relationship with my mom if I feel she's taken from me and never seen me? Well, you already have your answer. You can't. What you could do is build a healthy relationship with yourself and that sense of loss. And so that sense of grieving that needs to happen, you'll have to go through the process of understanding that your mother will, clearly she's proven already, she will never be that for you in an ideal way. She may never be that much for you in any way. You have to accept the possibility of that reality, that this could remain a lifelong disappointing situation. And you base this on the patterns from the past. Okay, so we can look at any relationship honestly and detach emotionally, even with our parents, when we say, what is the pattern? A pattern is a fact. Okay, numbers don't lie. Energy doesn't lie. Right? So you're looking at the pattern and you're saying, this is all I can expect, this or worse into the future, most likely. And you're finding a way to accept that, to go through the grieving process, which is going to be deep and it's hard, a long, dirty journey. But you, in the meantime, if you want to keep dealing with her, then you can start to treat her only in a way that makes you feel you're not disrespecting yourself. You're not sacrificing even more of yourself. You're not overreaching. You're not codependent. You're not giving to her knowing that your hope is to get back from her. Once you can get those things in check, you can be in the healthiest type of relationship you can possibly be in with this person, but it's really because you're in a healthier place with yourself. But we have to get rid of the delusions, the desperation of wanting more, that hope that maybe there could be something more, and embrace instead more of the reality that there will probably never be anything more. There could even be less. That's the highest likelihood. That's the trajectory on patterns like this. With human beings. Human beings don't get better spontaneously. They have to do a lot of work to get better. And if she's not showing signs of that work, you need to base this accordingly. Okay. So it becomes about you and you centering you and you reparenting yourself. I would also focus on a lot more of that in your journey. Just on a side note, how can I reparent myself? How can I give to myself and find other nurturing situations and relationships to give to me in all the ways she didn't? You know, and that'll help you to be more present for it. And also don't judge yourself. If the day should ever come when you're like, I'm out, I'm done with this, I don't want to have anything more to do with this, that's fine. You know, the universe is not going to hold you to some higher standard for that. That is self-care. Thank you for your question, Maggie Smalls. Okay, we have Jan on Facebook. Do spirits influence our emotions or decisions? If you're possessed, if you're toying around with paranormal energy, if you have been living in a state of depression or illness, or you tend to be avoidant or escapist, I have a class called Hauntings, Clearings, and Detachments up on the website, and I talk about this in depth. Who is most susceptible to possessions and attachments? So that is, again, illness, that is escapism and avoidance, that's depression for long periods of time, especially if you sit in one spot. So paranormal activity like that will accumulate if you stay in one particular area. And there's nothing if you keep feeding it. Also, if you're dealing with any kind of despair or grief and you just keep feeding it and feeding it and feeding it, these are the most common ways to develop an attachment or a possession. Now, a possession doesn't just happen overnight. It starts as an attachment. And the signs of attachment would be this: that your emotions are being influenced by these outside spirits, that your decision making is being influenced. Once an attachment has really gotten latched onto you, and as it starts to become a possession, you would have more and more blackout moments. You don't know how you got somewhere. you would have more blackouts in regards to the things that you say or do. And you would say, I don't know how I ended up here. Or I don't remember saying that, or I don't remember this thing happening. So a lot of blank space as you're no longer really behind the wheel in your body. Okay, so that is not normal. No, spirits are not coming in if they are of the light. They are not, this is where I talk in depth, okay, with my psychic mediumship students when we cover things like discernment and being a good reader, a good healer, and having to have discernment, okay? This is about understanding, and we all need it. We all have to know this, that spirits that are in the light aren't coming in to manipulate your emotional state. They're not coming in to manipulate the decisions that you make. They're here to guide. They're here to uplift. They're here to support. Okay, but they're not going to do that. That is darker, low-level energy. And you would also want to be very careful that if you have clairaudience, the ability to hear spirits in your head, where you get that weird ear ringing, that tinnitus, especially in the left ear. If you have heart palpitations and anxiety attacks a lot, you can't find the source for those. Random bouts of perfusive sweating, okay? All of these things can be physical side effects of clairaudient ability. Clairaudient ability, the ability to hear a spirit in your head as though it is your own inner voice. It doesn't come in spirit's voice. It comes in your own inner voice like a thought. This is going to be their go-to. So they're going to attack you at night. You're vulnerable, nightmares and things like this, waking you up and draining you. And then you're going to be attacked through clairaudience. So you have a lot of depressive thoughts, hateful thoughts of yourself, thoughts of despair, you know, failure, grief. Things are never going to get better. Okay. And the native belief is it's the porcelain, earth, water, and the mirrors that are all conductors in the bathroom so that clairaudient ability activates. That's when it's at its peak. Okay. So watch for things like this. But yeah, that sounds more like an attachment or a possession. Okay, time for a lifestyle cleanse. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Jan on Facebook. Do we have any other questions coming in? All right. Diana is producing for the first time tonight. I think she's doing an excellent job. We just have to slow down while she learns how to grab these questions. In the meantime, I'm going to try to not screw anything up here. Okay, I won't touch anything. Where are we? Okay, we are at time. All right, thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Reminder, I am, instead of doing shows bi-weekly or just sort of hit and miss, I want to get on a regular schedule where I am showing up once a week. And that started tonight. So I will be back next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern for the Unbound Sage, where I deliver out whatever message to you need to hear right now. And then the following week, I'll be back on a Wednesday schedule, and that will be my Ask Ivy show, where I am giving psychic mediumship readings, and on and on and on we go. Okay, so please support the channels and let me know that you're interested in something weekly, and then I'll know to keep it up. If you need to book a psychic fair, a party, or a reading or healing with me, you can go to Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com to do so now. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Spirit. Have a great night.